Welcome. In this video I'm going to talk about replacing the rear AC line in my 2000 Land Cruiser. And when I say I'm going to talk about it, that's all I'm going to do. I've already done the work and I just want to share my experience. So I do want to say I'm not an expert at this and this is not a tutorial on how to do it. But if you have an idea how to do this, maybe you'll get some tips from my experience. So when I got this, the AC didn't work. So I pulled a vacuum and I charged the system. And when I did it, I put this universal UV dye in. So if there are any leaks, this will come out of the leak and you can use a UV light to find it, or a black light. So I put that in and the air conditioning was working pretty good and I didn't see any leaks. So I thought I was good to go. But then it was actually a couple months later, I noticed some green leaking from the bottom of the Land Cruiser. And that was on the passenger side, right behind the wheel is where it was leaking. So I did some inspecting and I'll get under there and show you where I found it. But it was leaking right here on this line. This is the high pressure line and it was, I think it's right around here. It had rubbed a hole in this. So this is the part for this line. It's 88726-60630. So if you look at the diagrams for parts for Toyota, it can be very confusing to see which line this is. Now if you see this shape, it's the way it's bent. When I got the part in, it was a lot straighter than this. It was almost as if someone took each end and kind of yanked it straight. But it had similar bends and I had to bend it into shape. So let's head under the car and I'll share some information under there. Okay, so it's very tight under here, but it was leaking from this area. So this plate comes out with 3 bolts. There's a bolt here and there's 2 up above, here and here. And this plate will come off, and behind it was the leak. And what had happened is this got a lot of grime in it, and then the pieces rubbed together and it rubbed a hole in that pipe. So if you have a 2000 Land Cruiser or similar Lexus model, you might want to pull this plate off and clean it really good with some parts cleaner or brake cleaner. You could also wrap some silicone tape around this. I'll put a link below to the silicone tape I use, and I actually put some on the new pipe here. The stuff's incredibly durable, so hopefully that'll keep it from wearing down in the future. So this line detaches right up here. You can, I think that's the connector right there, right behind here. I use, I think, a 17 and 19 millimeter. And then let's follow the line down. So if we look here, there are zip ties holding these 2 line sets together. They were green, and I think that's from the factory that way. Now here I loosened this bolt and pulled this down. This here is holding on to the 2 lines, the low and the high pressure line. The high pressure line is above it. And these hold together with a zip tie. So there's a zip tie here. So I actually put 2 in. There was 1 there. I'm surprised it was still there. So the line goes up over here, comes around here. Then it goes behind this heat shield. So there's a bolt here and there's 1 on the other side. So I loosened those and I pulled the shield out. And here's the other end of the line. So the tricky part was in this area where the line crosses over the frame. So I got it loose and then I kind of pulled it straight a little bit and was able to pull it out towards the front of the vehicle. And then I put the new line in the same way and I had to bend it into shape. So it had the bends mostly started. Now I did press in on the insulation to make sure that I hadn't kinked anywhere, but they're all very gradual bends. And this is aluminum tubing, so. So I had the front of the vehicle on ramps. I jacked up the rear of the vehicle and I have jack stands under there. I keep the jack in there. I just put the slightest bit of tension on the jack, but the jack stands are holding all of the weight. So that gives you a rough idea how far off the ground I am right now. You can see the gap under the wheel. And I'd say that gave me enough room to do it. If it was up higher, it would actually probably be a little bit harder because I'd have to reach up higher. Of course, if you had a lift, it would be a lot easier. Another thing, I think it was here, and there are a couple spots that had this kind of hard rubber around here, and then it had the mounting bracket. So you want to keep track of those. And one of them had a lot of grit in it. So I cleaned that out with a toothbrush and some brake cleaner. I could probably find a new part. That probably wouldn't have been a bad idea, but I feel like I got it cleaned pretty good. So you want to make sure you do that, is make sure it's clean. You really don't want any gritty, grimy parts rubbing up against the tubing. So that's my experience changing out the AC line on this 2000 Land Cruiser. Sorry I couldn't film this and go into deep detail, but maybe this gives people an idea if they want to tackle this project themselves. I read online some people were dropping the muffler and such, and I didn't do that, and I'm glad I didn't have to do that. But when I got the new line, this bend really wasn't even in it, so I had to bend this. So I actually put it over the frame member and then bent it into shape. So that's all I'm going to cover in this video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you like this video, please click like. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate if you could do that. And thanks for watching. Until next time, goodbye.